Good evening. Hope you had a wonderful day. We are in John 8 and talking about, L words. Liberty is the first one. And we know that it starts out with the story about the woman caught in adultery and her accusers wanted to stone her, right? And Jesus was like, he who is without sin, pick up the first stone and throw it at her, right? And the accusers dropped their stones and walked away. And in verse 11, Jesus, after he asked her, well, where are your accusers? Where is everybody? Right? He knew. In verse 12, he said, I do not condemn thee anymore. You might have made some mistakes in the past. You might have made some bad decisions. But guess what? There is no condemnation to a believer who believes in Christ, right? Who walk not after the flesh, but after the spirit. That's what Romans 8:1. Yeah. So you don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to regret. You don't have to live in yesterday and yesterweek and yesteryear, because you're a new creature and you have that liberty and that freedom. And that is what Jesus is saying. Sin no more. You're not a slave to sin. Oh, and that's talking about true liberty. And I was talking earlier about slavery, the natural slavery, how it started out in Jamestown and from Africa, and how, the country, people who owned land could not see a profit anymore with indentured servants, right? Because it was only for a few years, and they were like, what are we going to do to cultivate this land, this tobacco and this, all these other cash crops? And then that's when the slave trade happened. Well, that is the physical slavery. And there were repercussions as far as mental, emotional, and some of us still have that mindset. But guess what? We are free when we're in Christ Jesus. We don't have to be shackled and in bondage to anything, and especially to sin. No. And why? Because we have the light of life. That's our liberty. And that's in verse 12. I am the light of the world. This is Jesus. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness. We don't have to walk in our past life, but shall have the light of life. He is with us, right? He's our companion. He is our confidant. He's our partner in life. So we don't have to have a taskmaster. No. No slave owner. And what else is going on in this verse so much? In verse 29, Jesus is speaking, and he said that he hath sent me, is with me, right? You're never alone when you are a follower of Christ. The Father have not left me alone. This is Jesus saying, for I do always those things that please him. He is our main audience. He is our only opinion poll, right? He is the only one we're trying to please. And before that, in verse 28, I do nothing of myself, right? But as my Father hath taught me, I speak these things. He is the one who will lead us. He is the one who will get the glory out of our life. And so many other scriptures. This is the chapter where, because we have this liberty, we can say that we are free indeed. And it says in verse 36, if the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. Don't go back to that life of misery. No. Because we know that the devil will whisper lies in our ears. And in verse 44, talks about when the devil lies, he's speaking out of his own resources. That's who he is. He speaketh of his own, for he's a liar and the father of it. And if we are a co-conspirator, if we are lying, guess what? We are partnering with the enemy. And we're pretty much saying that we're the daughter and the son of the enemy, because he's a father, right? So that's what I'm saying. We don't want deception. We don't want black lies, white lies, gray lies. We don't want any of that. We can go boldly to the throne of grace and have truth, which is the light, right? And God will lead us as far as, even if we're afraid to tell the truth, he'll lead us as far as a way of escape, right? That's his promise. Amen. And it ends with, the Jews were upset at what Jesus was saying. Jesus was saying, yeah, I was here from the beginning. I am not from this earth, this world like you all. I am from heaven. I was with my Father. And then the Jews toward the end was like, what are you talking about? You're not even 50 years old. Well, how can you say that you were with Abraham? But they didn't get it. They didn't know that he was eternal. He was with his Father. He and the Father was one, just like in the beginning was the Word, right? All of this is the same entity. And when he said that, verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was I am, verse 59, they got upset. They're like, we're about to cast stones at him. And Jesus hid himself and went out in the temple, out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed by. When you are not getting headway, when people are hating you, leave and be at peace because you have full liberty. Have a good evening and walk in the light.